And today we're going to take a look at the new Godox AD200 Pro II. Now this is an update to the very popular Godox AD200, and it's my favorite flash in the entire Godox lineup. I would say arguably this is probably their best flash ever. And we're going to go over what's new over the Mark I. And full disclosure, they did send this flash out to me to review, but this is not sponsored, I'm not being paid, and as always, I'll give you my honest and fair opinion. So first off, it comes in this really nice hard case now, so it makes it very easy to travel with. A very compact system, and I'll go over all the different accessories, and then we'll talk about some of the improvements over the Mark I. All right, so here's the flash unit itself. As you can see, it's very compact, even with the Fresnel lens attached. And then we have our bare bulb adapter here with some LED lighting, and we just simply plug in our bare bulb here. So if we want to use this with a softbox or other modifier. They've also included the AC to USB-C adapter here for charging in the USB-C charging block here for a new and improved battery. And they've also included standard light stand here that also can hold an umbrella. And of course we have our USB-C cables, instruction manual behind this mesh pocket. So I mentioned that this is a new battery, however it is backwards compatible with the AD200 Pro and the original AD200, and vice versa. I was actually able to use my original AD200 batteries in the new Godox AD200 Pro Mark II. Here's a quick look at the new charging station versus the old one. You can see it's quite a bit smaller because now it's powered by USB-C, and it is PD compatible, so it'll charge I believe up to 25-30 watts versus the old one you had to plug into your mains. And I think this is part of what's made the Godox AD200 so popular is because of its modular design. I mean, right out of the box, it comes with a Fresnel head and a bare bulb, making it a very flexible lighting tool. In addition to that, there's many accessories available that you can attach natively to the flash, such as a beauty dish, a softbox, a snoot, diffuser, a ring flash, and even a stick light. Now, I've been using the Godox AD200 both personally and professionally for many years now, and I just want to give you a couple of examples of how I use it. This 200 watt second output power is more than enough to light up entire rooms. So like when I'm doing my architectural and real estate photography, this is like an ambient light shot, and you can see it's rather plain, but then using flash, you can light up the entire room, even out the colors, the white balance, and get a very accurate representation of the scene. Here's where I used it on an event where I set up two AD200s behind the curtains there on the stage, and this is the shot of the ambient light shots before I fired the flash, and then here are the shots after I fired. So no problem here either. And then when I'm doing my backyard birding, you can see here this is a typical ambient light shot of this blue jay, but then adding flash I can sort of temper and even out the exposure, get more detail. And then if I want, I can even go into high-speed sync mode and crush all of the ambient light and get shots like this. All right, so let's take a look at what's upgraded from the Mark I going to the Mark II. Now I have the flashpoint version of the AD200, but it's exactly the same. First thing I noticed was that the AD200 Pro Mark II is a little bit taller than the original AD200. Maybe just a millimeter or two, it's not by much. And then you also notice that we have an active cooling fan here to better dissipate the heat, say versus the original Mark I, the passive cooling method of just air vents here on the top and then on the side here. Okay, let's flip it over on the side, and we have some improvements here as well. Underneath the flaps here, on the original AD200 Pro, we have a USB port here for an external wireless module, and then we have the standard PC sync port here. But on the AD200 Mark II, they've gotten rid of this USB port and put in a power port here so you can plug in an external power pack such as the PB960, so you get much longer run times and faster recycle times. And then we have the same 3.5mm PC sync port here. It makes sense to replace this USB port because both these flashes have wireless receivers built in anyway, so I don't know how many people would actually use an external wireless receiver. So it makes sense, and I think this is actually better for professional use anyway. And as I mentioned before, the batteries are interchangeable. I can just swap these at will. They both fit perfectly in each other. And then turning over to the bottom here, there's no changes here. Same 1/4-20 screw here, and USB-C port here for doing firmware updates. And just like on the Mark I, the Mark II, the USB-C port does not charge the internal battery. And then finally, going over to the other side, we have the same 1/4-20 screw here. However, you'll notice that we no longer have a power switch here on the Mark II like we have on the Mark I, which I think is a better design, because this gets knocked on accidentally quite often in my case, like just putting it in and out of the bag, or picking it up. So I much prefer the soft switch that's on here, and I'll show you that in a minute. All right, now let's look at the control panel, and you'll notice right away that on the Mark II we have fewer buttons than on the Mark I, and what they did was they regulated the channel group button and wireless button and integrated it into the menu system on the Mark II. But this allows for a larger, easy to use control dial. And to turn the flashes on the Mark I, as always, we have the power switch here. But on the Mark II, we now have a soft switch where you push the flash button here and then rotate the dial and it comes on. The other thing I forgot to mention when we were looking at the sides is you'll notice that there's an LED light here on this side and also on this side on the Mark II. And this gives you a visual indication of what group this flash has been assigned to. So red for A, and then if we change the group, it'll be a different color. So there's like 16 different colors. But you go into the menu system, and if I want to change the group, you'll notice that now it's turned green, and group C is blue, and then we have a cyan color for group D, and this goes on and on, purple, yellow, etc. There's, like I said, there's 16 colors here to give you a visual indication of what channel, or I'm sorry, what group the flash has been assigned to. All right, coming over to the business end, you'll notice that the 8200 Mark II here looks just a little bit bigger than the 8200 Mark I. And it is. And some have mentioned that some accessories no longer fit the 8200 Mark II because of this just very, very slight difference in size. So be conscious of that. Make sure before you buy any accessories that it is compatible with a new Fresnel head for the 8200 Mark II. You'll also see that we have some bicolor LED lighting here for the modeling lamps. And this is actually much, much brighter than the single modeling lamp that we used to get in the 8200 Mark I. And being bicolor means we can control the color temperature, or Kelvin. Now another change you need to be aware of is that I can take the Fresnel head off of the 8200 Mark I and put it on the 8200 Pro Mark II. However, I cannot take this Fresnel head and put it onto the 8200 Pro Mark I. So I'll just show you real quick the difference. And it has to do with these pins that are on the 8200 Mark II Pro Fresnel head. I think these pins, what they do is they probably control the LED lighting here, Kelvin temperature, and you'll see that we have an extra set of pins here as well. So this will fit onto here no problem and work perfectly fine. However, I can't use this one on the 8200 Pro Mark I because these pins here, there's no gap here for these pins to fit into. Okay, now let's look at the new bare bulb kit. It now has modeling lamps all the way around, and these are the same bicolor lamps that you find on the Fresnel lens. And other than that, these two are exactly the same. They will take the same accessories. So for example, I have my reflector dish here. This will fit on the Mark II just as well as it did when I was using the... And just like the Fresnel lenses, the Mark II bare bulb kit will no longer fit on the original Mark I because of these extra pins here. However, the Mark I bulb kit will fit on the Mark II body here, no problem. And it works perfectly fine. Okay, now there's a couple other upgrades here that I want to point out, and that is we can now go down to 1/512 power versus 1/256. So we have an extra stop of range here that we can go down. Also on the display, it shows us the actual flash duration time, which can be very useful when you're doing high-speed sync type photography. Particularly cameras like the new Sony, I forget what it is, has the global shutter. You want to make sure your shutter speed is not faster than what's showing here. All right, now I want to show you a couple of new things in the menu. As I mentioned earlier, they got rid of the group channel button and the wireless button, and they moved it to the menu. So we click on the menu button, and you'll notice the first line item here is wireless. And this is not a touch screen, so we click the set button, and we can turn the wireless on or off. We can set our channel number, group, and ID number. And we also now have a wireless sync function, which is compatible with the new X3 trigger. So what this will do is automatically sync the channel number and the ID number to whatever you have set in the trigger. So you'll see that I have channel 14 and ID number set to off, and our group is set to D. And right now, my trigger is set to channel 21. Let's go into the settings and see what the ID number is. So we have channel 21, ID number 2, group A. And all we have to do to sync these two up is go into the wireless menu, like so. Scroll down to wireless sync, click on that, touch on that, and they sync instantly. However, now the channel is set to 21 and the ID is set to 2, just like on the trigger. However, it does not change the group ID. So if we go back out, you'll notice that the trigger is still on group A, but the flash has not changed. So you always have to set the group ID manually, which makes sense when you have multiple flashes set up. So what I would do is just go into the menu and change this manually to group A. So now the flash is now paired to group A on the trigger. Also, you'll notice that the group A LED is red, and we have a red icon here or underline under the group A on the trigger. So it's also color matched. So if I were to add, say, a group B and C, for example, if I change this to group B, you'll notice that the LED on the side changes to green, which matches the green here. And if I change this to group C, it changes to blue, which matches the blue LED here on the trigger. All right, I want to show you a couple of the new things in the menu. So let's go back in, and you notice on the second light item, we have flash mode set to color, but we can also change this to normal. Now, when we're in color mode, what this does is it makes the flash output or the Kelvin temperature of the Fresnel lens to be more accurate within plus or minus 100 Kelvin shot to shot to shot. So the color temperature of each flash can change slightly. It's, you know, plus or minus 100 Kelvin is really not noticeable at all. And if you were to put this in the normal mode, what's going to happen is you might get plus or minus 200 Kelvin difference shot to shot to shot. Now in practice, I really never noticed any difference, but if you're very sensitive to color and you need that better accuracy, you can set this to color mode. And I would just make this your default setting. The trade-off is, from what I've seen, is that the shot-to-shot exposure may be slightly different, but that percentage is like 1 or 2% at most. So I think I would prefer higher color accuracy over, say, a 1 or 2% difference shot-to-shot in exposure. All right, then going back out, I mentioned earlier that this is a bicolor LED modeling lamp. And the way you set the temperature for that is you just click the modeling lamp light here, and you can click on that, and you can set the power output of the modeling lamp, and then you can set the temperature. It looks like it goes from 2800 up to probably 65 or so, or 6000 Kelvin. It's not very accurate, to be honest, so I would just set it, you know, to 5500 and just use the modeling lamp for getting an idea of where the flash direction is and the shadows, and also to help with the autofocus if it's a very dim studio. So the AD200 Pro Mark II brings a lot of updates to the table. First, we have the new bicolor LED lamp, which is brighter, and it's also on both the Fresnel lens and the bare bulb unit. We also have the power port, so we can hook up an external power bank for extended run times and faster recycle times. And then we also have that new beautiful display, right, which is very easy to read even in bright outdoors. And we have the wireless syncing ability now with the new X3 trigger. We have higher color accuracy with the color mode. And finally, we have that new USB-C charging bank for the battery, which is very small and compact compared to the old one. So who is the AD200 Pro Mark II for? Well, I'd say if you already have the AD200 Mark I or even the original AD200, there's really no reason to replace or upgrade your current units to the Mark II, because they have basically the same high power output of 200 watt seconds. They use the same modular design, so you can use all the same accessories and basically the same form factor. So you won't really see any difference in your work. However, if you're thinking about adding additional lights, or maybe this is your first off-camera flash, I'd say the AD200 Pro II makes a lot of sense, particularly because they're releasing it at a retail price that's the same as when they released the AD200 Pro Mark I. So you're getting a bunch of nice upgrades without paying anything additional. That's all I have for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.